Hello everyone. This is one of my many old computers. This computer is probably 20, well, the motherboard's about 27 years old, and it's an iWill, which they made some really high-end um, motherboards. They came out with a lot of firsts, and I think they exited the market around 2002, but they were really prolific in the early 90s to mid 90s. And like I said, they came out with a lot of firsts. And this one's from the mid 90s, and it has supports, it's socket 7, and it supports P5 processors. And I forgot what I put on this. It shows in the BIOS is a Pentium S, which it was a high-end processor that I bought. I mean, this whole thing was really expensive. And it has some burst RAM, which I never installed. Let's see if you can see it. It's right. Let me put the light on. It's got burst RAM, and it's down. See the sockets right there? That goes in there. And it also has a VRM where you can, that's what that white socket is next to the processor socket. It's a board you plug in there, and it's got voltage regulators, which you can see right there, right above the processor. But what it does is when you put the VRM in there, it disables those, and it does the voltage regulation on the VRM. And then you can there's different processors you can install. And the one I have installed in this, I forgot, but it was an extra added expense instead of getting the P5, and it shows up in the BIOS as a Pentium S, which I forgot. I have to take the fan off to see what it is. I mean, 27 years ago, I don't remember, but I know I paid extra for it. And let's see, what else does it have? It has 2 IDE hard drives, and this is back in the day when they didn't have jumpers for them, or if you did, they were disallowed. And it can only support 2 IDE hard drives. So one would be this cable here, and then the other one is the other cable right there. And then this also has onboard SCSI or SCSI. Let's see, where is it? It's on here somewhere. Oh, there it is. So it's right there. So it has wide, and it has ultra, and then I think it just has regular SCSI. So I have an SCSI hard drive I'm going to hook up to this. I just have one. Oh, that's the floppy. Okay, this is the floppy. This cable here, and then the SCSI or the 50 pin not edge card, but just a regular cable one right there on the end. And then it's got the ultra wide or whatever is the D50 cable right above it. And so I haven't turned this on, and so I'm going to turn it on and see what it does. And I have my last CRT monitor. Unfortunately, I had a 21-inch, which that thing had to weigh 80 pounds. And I gave that away. And then I had a 17-inch I gave away because I thought I'd never use this stuff again. But I kept the PCs, and I should have kept them. And I kept this is the only. I have another one. I have it's a small, like 10-inch. I think it was made for like POS equipment, and that's VGA, but it's got a yellow raster. And then I have 2 I did keep my monitors we had an original IBM PC, and I have 2 monitors for that, and I have 2 original IBM PCs. One I picked up later at a yard sale for like $10, which I'm going to get those running too. And let's see. And I also have a monitor for a digital terminal and a keyboard that I was going to make, which I'm getting back into now. I had microcontrollers I was developing. I was going to interface with the monitor on the digital equipment, because it also has like a COM port input. And then I have a whole bunch of hard drives I saved. I saved all the hard drives. This is one of the hard drives I saved. It's an IBM. It's like 30 meg, not 30 gig, not 30 terabyte, but 30 meg. So it's equivalent of like 30, 1.25 floppy, probably like 28 or 29, 1.25 floppy disks. So it's only 30 meg. And then I have this is the controller card for it. And an IDE hard drive, all that means is it's embedded drive electronics, which it means this card, this plug-in card, is on the bottom of the hard drive. And it's still, this one, the formatting is MFM, which is modified frequency modulation. And IDE hard drives, they were modified frequency modulation. Also, they always were, but the IDE means embedded drive electronics. They shrunk all this down and put it on the bottom of the hard drive. And I do have some other SCSI devices. I have a Bernoulli box, and I have a tape drive. So I may hook them up. I have several tape drives. Most of the tape drives are Quick 36, which is it was always confused with SCSI because the controller card and the cabling was 50 pin, just like SCSI or SCSI. But it was Quick 36, which is 1/4-inch cassette, which are big cassettes that the tape drives ran on. So let's turn this on and see what it does. So let's turn on we'll turn on the monitor. Okay, the monitor came on. It should start blinking, I think. Meaning, yep, it's not interfaced. So the computer isn't on. So we'll turn the computer on. Oh, the computer, it's not plugged in. Okay. Oh, it's booting up. Green light's on. You should see something on the screen, I think. Oh yeah. Yeah, Pentium S at 133 megahertz. Look at that. That was fast. I was bringing people in that were just walking down the street. Look at this. Come in. Look at this. See, no hard drive detected. So that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to hook up a. There is an IDE hard drive in there. It's a Conair. Oh no, it's a Western Digital Caviar. Ooh, 420 meg. How many people have flash drives that are that are like 10 times the size of that? 420 meg. That was a lot. That was a lot back then. So let me hook up that hard drive and I'll get back. So this originally had a 386 motherboard in it. And I think the hard drive is from the 386. So it's not booting the hard drive. And I think because it's the operating system on it's too new, there was something too. And see, it's getting a CMOS check error on this, and the batteries on. So the motherboards have this kind of battery on it, and if you've got any old motherboards and you want to keep them, you want to remove this because they start leaking, and once they leak, they can eat through, the etches on the circuit board, and most motherboards from this time that have this type of battery, they also have it's a 4-prong connector with 1 prong missing, and then you have a battery that you can plug in. And these are some of my hard drives. They were dead. And this one, I think, was this was an MFM, or it was RLL. I can't remember which one, which is run length limited. No, it was MFM. Because they had card edge connectors. And this was like 10 meg. Look at all the read write heads. And then this was a 20 meg MFM. I think this one was, I think it was a Western Digital. And then this is a newer one. And that was probably like 500 or 600 meg. And that was IDE, I'm pretty sure. Yep. And then that was probably the same. IDE, recent, you know, maybe 20 years old or something like that, 20 years ago. 15. And back in the 90s, late 80s, through most of the 90s, most of the hard drives, you had to go into the BIOS and tell the BIOS what the parameters were of the hard drive. They didn't auto detect. And I had this, which this has just about everything in it. It had all the, it told all about, it told all about all the different formats. And it had the jump ring and all, you know, it had like, had all the different cables you needed. And then it had all this. This was like, it had every hard drive that was manufactured and all the parameters. And you had to go in the BIOS if you had that hard drive, and you had to tell the BIOS what the parameters were. And here's Western Digital. See, some of those are only 40 meg. That's like the second one. I think that was a Western Digital. Either that was a Seagate, maybe. A lot of these companies are long gone. Rodeem, I used to have Rodeem. And there's Seagate. And it showed the edge card connectors and how to jumper SCSI. SCSI pinouts. Had everything. Everything you needed to know. I'm not kidding. This thing had and the internet back then, you know. The internet back then wasn't like it is now. There wasn't the information. So I remember when I first had, I had CompuServe, which was a subscriber network. It was sort of kind of like the internet, but it was within the boundaries of CompuServe. You know, they had where you could buy and sell, and they had a whole bunch of different news services and stuff like that. But I used to go the internet. I went to the internet, the World Wide Web, and we had dial-up at the time, and I would wait till the phone services went where it went. You know, they were least expensive. It was either after 10 or 12 o'clock at night. I can't remember, and I'd log on to the internet, the World Wide Web, and basically back then you would connect to bulletin boards, and that's all the presence of most of the internet services. One like it was today. They just had bulletin boards and they had SISOPs, which are system operators, and you could contact them if you had a difficulty. And I'd go to like Johnson and Johnson, and I think Microsoft, and you just go just to do it. It wasn't anything you were looking for information. It was just just to do it, just to be able to do it. And most of the websites, they weren't websites really, but most of the bulletin boards I went to, there weren't any. I wasn't looking for information. It was just to do it. Just to log on and do it, and just search and say, "Wow, I did that," and you know, and with the dial-up was very slow, and I had Windows NT. I remember that Windows NT workstation, and I started to download a service pack. It was only like 10 meg, and I started downloading it before I went to work. And when I came home, it was still downloading. Everything, it was nothing like it is today. Here's all my computer books. Windows 3.1, DOS. There's a couple DOS 5 books in here too. Windows 95. Procom Plus, that was the first software program I ever bought. This is the 386 motherboard that I took this battery off of, because they do corrode, and once they start to corrode and leak, they can cut through the etches on the motherboard. And where it went was right here. And I always thought that these were rechargeable. I always thought, I think someone on the internet said that they're rechargeable, that the motherboard charges them up, and I just assumed that. And so I looked on the battery, and it says, do not recharge. So, and it's a lithium battery too. So it's probably not rechargeable. And they have these on the internet, brand new ones, but I'm thinking that they're probably dead. I mean, even if they're brand new, they're probably dead. And so it looks like I'm going to take the external route on this, and here's where the external battery goes. And I'm pretty sure that the two center pins don't do anything. It's probably the two outer pins. But what you can do is, or what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take a voltmeter and put it on diode test, and just connect to a ground part on the motherboard, the ground plane or something, like the outside of this the keyboard connector, or even one of the mounting the mounting screws, and or the I think it's 6, 7, and 8 of the power plug is ground. But that might be yeah, that'd probably work. So, and then I'll find out which one's the ground, and then I'll take the probe and put it on the plus on the battery, and touch each one of these and find out which one the plus is. I don't think, let's see, they don't have a plus or a minus. They have nothing. So it looks like the external battery route will be what, like I said, what I'll take. And I mean, you could even solder the leads to the where the battery went. I mean, that's another possibility too. Because for this, you'll have to have the inline. I think it's like 2.54 millimeter apart, each one of those pins, which is like a thousandth, a tenth of an inch. So if you have that kind of connector, you can take it off of an old battery, or if you just have the single connectors that go on there, you could make a connector to go, to go on there. But I think you could buy like a laptop battery and adapt it because that already encased in like heat shrink, and has 2 cables on it. Like I said, you'd have to adapt it to this, or just cut the wires from the connector and just solder them right to the positive negative. But whatever I decide when I get around to making a video on this board, I'll let you know.